The childhood of a genius. How it all began. Imagine a curious boy with glasses, always with a book in his hand and ideas bubbling in his head. This boy's name was Elon Musk, and he was born on June 28, 1971 in Pretoria, a city in South Africa. Since he was little, Elon was not like other children. While many boys liked to play with balls or toy cars, Elon lost himself in the world of books and imagination. His parents realized early on that he had something special. He read everything about science, engineering, science fiction, and asked questions that left even adults without answers. What if I told you that, at just 3 years old, Elon could already read by himself? That's right. He devoured encyclopedias as if they were comic books. It was as if his mind was always hungry for knowledge. But not everything was easy for him. At school, Elon was a shy and lonely boy. He was bullied by his classmates and often preferred to spend recess reading or thinking about inventions rather than interacting with others. But even so, he never stopped dreaming. But before we continue, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Activate the bell so you don't miss any updates. Like and share with your friends. Take the opportunity to leave your comment at the end of the video, because your opinion is very important to the channel. Now think about this. One day when he was 10 years old, Elon saw a computer for the first time. At that time, it was nothing like the modern computers we have today. He was fascinated. It seemed like a portal to a new world where he could create anything he wanted. He asked his parents to buy him one, and when he finally got his hands on a Commodore VIE-20, he wasted no time. Most kids would have used the computer just to play, but Elon wanted to understand how it worked. He picked up a basic programming manual, which was a huge book, and dove right in. This manual said that it would take 6 months to learn how to program, but do you know how long it took Elon? 3 days. That's right. He read it, studied it, and started creating his own programs. Can you imagine a 10-year-old kid doing that? Well, not only did Elon learn to program on his own, but at the age of 12 he created his own computer game. The game was called Blaster, and it was a simple spaceship game where the player had to destroy enemies. But do you know what's most impressive? He sold the game for $500 to a technology magazine. This was in the 80s, so a 12-year-old kid was already making money with technology before he even finished school. Elon didn't just want to play video games, he wanted to create his own worlds within them. It was a sign of things to come. This was the first proof that he was not just a smart kid, but a visionary, someone who wanted to transform the world through technology. And this was just the beginning of the journey of one of the greatest geniuses of our time. Want to know how Elon left South Africa and went to conquer the world? Then stay with me, because his story only gets more incredible from here on out. His first great achievement: creating a game at age 12. Now just imagine, a boy of just 12 years old sitting in front of an old computer typing lines and lines of code. While other kids were playing ball or playing in the street, Elon Musk was creating his own video game. His mind was restless. He wanted to understand how things worked. He dismantled devices, explored the world of technology, and above all, he wanted to create. That's how Blaster, a spaceship game, was born. Blaster was no ordinary game. In it, the player controlled a spaceship and had to destroy enemy ships loaded with hydrogen bombs. All of this was done by a 12-year-old boy without any help from anyone. And back then, programming was not as easy as it is today, where you can simply drag and drop elements on the screen. Everything had to be written in pure code, line by line, without errors. Now comes the most incredible part. Elon not only created the game, but he also sold it. He managed to sell Blaster to a technology magazine for $500. And if you think that's not a lot of money, think about this. In the 1980s, that was equivalent to thousands of dollars today. In other words, a boy who wasn't even old enough to work was already making money with technology. But do you know what's even cooler? This game still exists. If you look it up on the internet, you can play a version of it to this day. Of course, by today's standards, it seems like a very simple game. But for a 12-year-old boy, that was brilliant. It was like he had taken the first step towards something much bigger. And that moment was crucial in Elon's life. That was when he realized that he could use technology not only to have fun, but to create something valuable and even make money from it. That was his first big achievement, and the most incredible thing? He hadn't even really started yet. Now you must be wondering, how did a 12-year-old boy who was already creating games and making money become one of the biggest entrepreneurs in the world? His story still has many twists and turns, and I'll tell you all about it. Come with me, because Elon Musk's journey is just beginning. Moving to Canada and taking the first steps towards the American dream. Now imagine being a teenager full of dreams, but stuck in a place where opportunities for technology are almost non-existent. Elon Musk wanted more. He wanted to be at the center of innovation where he could turn his ideas into reality. But there was a problem. He lived in South Africa and his dream was to make it to the United States. Elon knew that the United States was the perfect place for someone like him. It was home to the biggest technology companies, the best scientists, and the most daring entrepreneurs in the world. But how could a young South African simply move there? He needed a plan. Then he remembered something. His mother, Mae Musk, had Canadian citizenship. That meant he could get a Canadian passport and from there try to make his way to the United States. And that's exactly what he did. At the age of 17 in 1989, Elon packed his suitcase and moved to Canada alone, with very little money in his pocket. To survive, he had to work at jobs that were not easy. He was a janitor in a student dormitory, where he cleaned toilets and earned about $1 an hour. A worker on a grain farm carrying heavy sacks of wheat. A boilermaker, one of the most dangerous jobs he ever had. He had to go into an overheated room and fix huge machines with the risk of explosions and burns. It wasn't an easy life, but Elon didn't care. He knew it was temporary, a necessary step towards something much bigger. While working, he continued studying and looking for ways to get into a good university. After some time in Canada, he managed to get into Queen's University, one of the best in the country. And the coolest thing? It was there that he met Justine Wilson, his first wife, with whom he would have 5 children years later. But Elon still wasn't satisfied. He knew that to get to Silicon Valley, the heart of world technology, he would need to go to the United States. So, after 2 years at Queen's University, he managed to transfer to the University of Pennsylvania in the USA. This was one of the most important decisions of his life. Now Elon was officially in the country where he could make his dreams come true. If you thought this part of the story was incredible, just wait until you see what he did when he arrived in the United States. The path to success was just beginning. College in the USA, the path to Silicon Valley. Now imagine a determined young man who left home with almost nothing, worked hard jobs to survive in Canada and finally managed to get to the United States, the place he always dreamed of being. Elon Musk was closer to his goal, and he knew he needed to make the most of every opportunity. In 1992, he entered the University of Pennsylvania, UPenn, one of the most prestigious in the country. But Elon didn't want to just study for the sake of studying. He wanted to understand what would be really useful for the future. That's why he chose to double major, economics at the famous Wharton School, and physics. But why these areas? He himself said he wanted to learn how to make money, economics, and how to change the world, physics. You can see that he always thought big, right? Elon didn't waste any time even in college. He wanted to make money and also test his entrepreneurial streak. So, together with a friend, he had a brilliant idea. Rent a large house and turn it into an underground nightclub for students. Yes, you read that right. Musk and his friend rented a huge house, organized college parties and charged guests an entrance fee. He earned enough money to pay the rent and still had some left over. But unlike the other students who enjoyed the parties, Elon didn't drink or participate in the chaos. He preferred to stay in his room reading science and technology books. It was during this time that he began to have ideas that would change his life. He spent hours thinking about the future of humanity and came to 3 conclusions. The internet would revolutionize everything. Renewable energy would be essential for the planet. Humans would need to become a multiplanetary species. These 3 thoughts would shape the businesses he would create years later. But at that time he still needed a plan to turn these dreams into reality. After graduating from college, he managed to get accepted into a PhD in physics at Stanford University in California. And now you might be thinking, wow, that's amazing, he was going to become a great scientist. But believe me, Elon only stayed at Stanford for 2 days and decided to drop out. That's right. He realized that while he was studying theoretical physics, something much bigger was happening out there. The internet revolution. It was the early 90s and companies like Yahoo and Netscape were just starting to emerge. Elon didn't just want to study the future, he wanted to build it. Then, in one of the boldest moments of his life, he dropped out of Stanford and decided to start a business in Silicon Valley. It was a huge risk. He had no money, no important contacts, and no idea if it would work. But as always, Elon bet everything on his dream. And that was how his journey into the business world began. The first company he created was about to be born. And little did he know that it would be the beginning of something huge. If you thought this decision was bold, just wait until you see what happened next. Elon Musk's next step was the real kickstart to his fortune. Dropping out of Stanford to start a business. The first big leap. Now just imagine, you spend years studying, working hard to get into one of the most prestigious universities in the world, finally get accepted, and 2 days later decide to drop out. Well, that's exactly what Elon Musk did in 1995, when he dropped out of his PhD in applied physics at Stanford University. Sound crazy? Maybe. But to him it made perfect sense. At that moment, something huge was happening. The internet was exploding. New companies were emerging, and Elon realized that this was the chance of a lifetime. He thought, if I want to change the world, I can't waste time just studying theories. I need to get into the game and create something revolutionary. But there was a problem: he had no money. He didn't even have an apartment. To save money, he and his brother rented an office and slept on the floor. The company bathroom was the same one they used to shower. Despite the lack of comfort, they worked day and night, almost non-stop. That's how Zip2, Elon Musk's first company, was born. And what was the idea? Something that seems common today but at the time was revolutionary. A digital city guide on the internet, similar to Google Maps, but aimed at companies and newspapers. Remember, we're talking about 1995. Back then, the internet was still in its infancy, and almost no one believed that it would play such a big role in the business world. But Elon believed. And he was right. At first, no one wanted to invest in Zip2. Elon and his brother knocked on doors trying to convince major newspapers to use their service. They got hundreds of no's before they got their first big client. But when they did, things started to change quickly. Zip2 started to grow, signing contracts with giants like the New York Times and the Chicago Tribune. Suddenly, this company, created by two brothers who slept on the floor, was worth millions of dollars. And then, in 1999, came the big moment. Zip2 was sold for $307 million. Elon Musk, who a few years earlier had been cleaning toilets to survive, now had his first fortune. $22 million all to himself. But do you know what's most impressive? He didn't stop there. Many people would have taken that money and lived comfortably for the rest of their lives. But not Elon Musk. He wanted more. He wanted to change the world. And that's when he took his next big step. A step that would change the way we use money on the internet forever. Want to know what he did next? Then hold on tight, because the next chapter of the story is simply insane. The first successful business. Now imagine this. A 24-year-old with no money, sleeping in the office, showering in public bathrooms, and working almost 24 hours a day. That was Elon Musk in 1995, right after dropping out of Stanford to found his first company, Zip2. But what was Zip2? Think about what we have today with Google Maps and Yelp, which show the location and information about companies, restaurants, and services. Well, Elon and his brother invented this before Google even existed. The idea was simple but revolutionary for the time: to help newspapers and companies put their addresses and information on the internet, something that, in the 90s, was still new. It seems obvious today, but back then many companies didn't even know what the internet was. The difficult beginning. But nothing was easy. To begin with, no one believed in the idea. Elon and his brother Kimball had to go from door to door, trying to convince companies and newspapers that one day the internet would be essential for business. And more often than not, they got a straight no. Even so, they didn't give up. They worked tirelessly, programming during the day and sleeping in their own office at night. Without enough money to pay for an apartment, they slept in sleeping bags on the floor and showered in a gym near the building. But the effort started to pay off. After much persistence, they got their first big client, a local newspaper. It was just the beginning. The game changer. When major newspapers started to realize that the internet was the future, Zip2 grew quickly. Elon and his brother managed to secure contracts with media giants such as the New York Times and the Chicago Tribune. With success, investors began to appear, and Zip2 received millions in financial contributions. However, along with this came a problem. Elon lost control of the company itself. The investors brought in experienced executives to run the business and demoted Elon Musk from the position of CEO. He didn't like this at all, but he knew that the most important thing was to ensure Zip2's success. So he swallowed his pride and continued working hard. The big sale. Elon Musk becomes a millionaire for the first time. After a few years of growth, in 1999, Zip2 was sold to Compaq for an impressive $307 million. For Elon, this meant that from a broke young man who slept on the floor of his office, he now owned $22 million. Now think about it. If he had just earned $22 million, what would you do? Buy a mansion? Travel the world? Elon Musk could have stopped there and enjoyed life. But no. He wanted more. He wanted to create something even bigger. And that's exactly what he did. With part of the money he earned, he invested it in a new idea. An idea that would change the way we use money on the internet forever. If you thought this story was incredible, just wait until you see what comes next. The birth of PayPal. PayPal, the online payments revolution. Now imagine this. You've just earned $22 million after years of sleeping on the office floor and struggling to make your first company a success. What would you do? Maybe you'd buy a mansion, a luxury car, or even travel the world. But do you know what Elon Musk did? He took almost all of the money and invested it in a new idea. He didn't just want to be rich. He wanted to change the world. That's how, in 1999, he founded X.com, a startup focused on online financial services. This was long before digital banks and PIGs. At the time, the idea of transferring money online was still revolutionary, and Elon knew it. The big idea: online money transfers. The concept behind X.com was simple. Eliminate traditional banks and allow anyone to send and receive money online quickly and securely. But again, people doubted him. No one believed that an online bank could work because people were afraid of the internet. At the time, many thought it was an unsafe place to do business. Traditional banks dominated the market and didn't want any competition. Hackers and fraud were a huge threat, and Elon needed to make sure the system was trustworthy. So he kept going. X.com began to grow and soon merged with another startup called Confinity, founded by Peter Thiel and Max Levchin. From this merger, something was born that would completely change the way the world deals with money online. PayPal was an instant success. The idea of sending money via email was simple, fast, and much more convenient than traditional methods. People began using PayPal to buy and sell products online, especially on eBay, which was booming at the time. The conflict: Elon Musk is ousted from his own company. Despite the company's success, there were conflicts within the company between Elon Musk and the other founders. The reason? Disagreements over PayPal's technology. Elon wanted the system to use a Microsoft-based platform, while the other executives preferred Linux. This conflict created internal tensions, and in 2000, while Elon was on his honeymoon, he was ousted as CEO of the company. That's right. He was removed from the leadership of his own company while he was away. But unlike what happened at Zip2, he didn't fight. He remained one of the main shareholders and waited for the right moment to reap the rewards. And this decision was very smart because in 2002 PayPal was sold to eBay for $1.5 billion. Since Elon still had a lot of shares in the company, he received around $180 million from this sale. From a young man who cleaned toilets to survive, Elon Musk was now a multimillionaire. But did he take this money and decide to retire? Of course not. On the contrary, he took almost everything and invested it in a new dream, an even crazier dream. What Elon Musk did next was one of the riskiest decisions in the history of entrepreneurship. He put almost all of his money into rockets and electric cars, even though the world said he was going to go bankrupt. And that's what I'm going to tell you in the next chapter. The birth of SpaceX and Tesla. SpaceX, the journey to Mars begins. Now think about it. You just made $180 million from the sale of PayPal. Most people would take that money and live comfortably for the rest of their lives. But Elon Musk? He did the opposite. He took practically his entire fortune and invested it in rockets. That's right. In rockets. But why? Simple. Elon Musk wanted to take humanity to Mars. Since college, he believed that humans needed to become a multiplanetary species. He saw this not as a luxury, but as a necessity for the survival of civilization. The problem? No one took this idea seriously. The Falcon 1 mission, Elon Musk's first rocket. In 2002, Elon Musk founded SpaceX, Space Exploration Technologies Corporation. The goal was clear: to drastically reduce the cost of space travel and create reusable rockets. But there was one detail. He knew absolutely nothing about rockets. What did he do? He bought aerospace engineering books, hired the best scientists, and learned everything he could. He became a true expert on the subject. SpaceX's first major project was the Falcon 1. a small rocket that Elon wanted to use to demonstrate that it was possible to launch space at a much lower cost than NASA or any other government agency. The first failures. The dream almost ended. The problem is, launching rockets is one of the most difficult things in the world. SpaceX attempted 3 launches between 2006 and 2008. All of them failed. The first rocket exploded a few seconds after launch. The second almost succeeded but fell into the ocean before reaching orbit. The third? Another failure. And then came the most critical moment. Elon Musk was almost out of money. He had already invested almost all of his fortune in SpaceX and Tesla at the same time. I'll tell you about Tesla in a moment. If the 4th launch failed, SpaceX would be bankrupt and he would lose everything. It was all or nothing. The turning point. The success of the 4th launch. So, on September 28, 2008, SpaceX made another attempt. This time, the Falcon 1 finally managed to reach Earth's orbit. It was a historic moment. For the first time, a private company had managed to build and launch a fully developed rocket from scratch. And do you know what happened right after? NASA, which had previously disbelieved in SpaceX, was impressed and signed a contract worth $1.6 billion with the company. This contract guaranteed the survival of SpaceX and proved to the world that Elon Musk was not a lunatic but a visionary. But he was still far from his ultimate goal. His dream wasn't just to send rockets into space. He wanted to take humanity to Mars. And while SpaceX struggled to survive, Elon faced another daunting challenge: making Tesla's electric cars work. If you thought this story was crazy, just wait until you hear about the drama of Tesla, which almost went under before becoming the most valuable automaker in the world. Tesla, going all in on electric cars. Now imagine this. You've just saved your rocket company from bankruptcy, finally secured $1 billion contract with NASA. And at the same time you're fighting to save another company that's about to collapse. Well, that was Elon Musk's situation in 2008. While SpaceX was struggling to survive, another of his bets, Tesla, was also in serious trouble. But wait. Didn't Elon Musk found Tesla? No. Tesla was founded in 2003 by 2 engineers, Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning. But the idea of electric cars caught Elon's attention, and he invested heavily in the company early on, becoming the largest shareholder and chairman of the board. However, Elon didn't want to be just an investor. He wanted to make sure Tesla became a success. Tesla's revolutionary idea. At the time, traditional automakers didn't take electric cars seriously. Most electric models were slow, ugly, and had very little range. But Tesla wanted to change that. The idea was simple but bold. Create an electric car that was fast, beautiful, and efficient. And so the Tesla Roadster was born, a sports car powered 100% by electricity. It sounded incredible, but there was a problem. Making cars is extremely difficult and expensive. Crisis and betrayal. Elon takes control of Tesla. Tesla's early years were chaotic. The Roadster was slow to be ready, costs were exploding, and there were many disagreements within the company. And then came a bombshell. Tesla's investors decided to fire Martin Eberhard, the original CEO. With the company in crisis, Elon Musk decided to take over as CEO of Tesla in 2008. He now had 2 companies to save at the same time: SpaceX and Tesla. And to make matters worse, 2008 was the year of the great financial crisis. Banks were failing, investors were fleeing the market, and no one wanted to invest money in an electric car company that had never made a profit. Tesla was on the brink of bankruptcy. They only had enough money to survive for a few more weeks. If something didn't change quickly, the company would close its doors. The turning point. Elon risks everything to save Tesla. It was at this moment that Elon Musk made the riskiest decision of his life. He took practically all the money he had, the $180 million he made with PayPal, and invested it in Tesla to prevent the company from going bankrupt. He literally put all his money on the line. If it didn't work out, he would lose everything and be back to square one. And then, at the last second, salvation came. In 2009, Tesla secured a $465 million investment from the US government, ensuring the company's continued existence. Tesla survived by a thread. But there was still something missing. The big car that would make Tesla explode onto the market. And that car was about to arrive. The Tesla Model S. If you thought that part of the story was intense, just wait until you see how the Model S turned Tesla into the most valuable automaker in the world and made Elon Musk the richest man on the planet. On the brink of bankruptcy, 2008, the toughest year of Elon Musk's life. Now imagine this. You have two incredible companies, one trying to revolutionize rockets and the other trying to change the auto industry. But both are on the brink of bankruptcy at the same time. That's exactly what happened to Elon Musk in 2008. It was without a doubt the toughest year of his life. Let's recap. SpaceX had already failed 3 times when trying to launch its rocket. If it failed again, investors would lose confidence and the company would close. Tesla was running out of money to continue operating. Production of the Tesla Roadster was behind schedule, costs were skyrocketing, and the global financial crisis had caused investors to flee. Elon Musk had already invested practically all of his fortune in the two companies. He had no personal money left. To make matters worse, his personal life was also falling apart. He was going through a messy divorce with his first wife, Justine Musk, and it had gotten to the point where he no longer had money to pay his own bills. That's right. The man who had made $180 million from PayPal was practically broke. The most critical moment. One step away from defeat. The situation was so bad that Elon had to choose which company to save. He didn't have enough money to keep both alive, so he had to decide between Tesla or SpaceX. I could either split the money between the two and risk both going bankrupt, or I could choose one to save and let the other die. But Elon didn't accept that choice. He was determined to save both. And then, on September 28, 2008, the fourth launch of the Falcon 1 was a success. For the first time, SpaceX had successfully put a rocket into orbit, proving that its technology worked. This was a historic moment for the space industry and showed the world that a private company could do what previously only governments could do. But Tesla still had to be saved. The Christmas miracle. NASA saves SpaceX and Elon saves Tesla. In December 2008, at the last minute before the total collapse, NASA signed a $1.6 billion contract with SpaceX to transport cargo to the International Space Station. This contract not only saved SpaceX, but also gave Elon Musk a financial breathing space to raise more money for Tesla. Shortly after, in late 2008, Elon secured a last-minute investment and kept Tesla alive. He later said that it was the worst year of his life. He went through a divorce, nearly lost both of his companies and ran out of personal money. But in the end he survived. And more than that, he proved himself right. From that point on, Tesla and SpaceX began to grow rapidly. And soon after, Tesla would launch the car that would change the company's history, the Tesla Model S. If you thought that part of the story was intense, just wait until you see how the Model S made Tesla explode onto the market and put Elon Musk on the path to becoming the richest man in the world. Tesla turns around and becomes a giant. Now just imagine. You almost lost everything, your rocket company was on the verge of bankruptcy, your electric car company was drowning in debt, and suddenly you managed to turn things around. That's exactly what happened to Elon Musk in 2009. After going through its worst year, Tesla was finally saved. But something was still missing. A car that would show the world that electric vehicles were the future. And then, in 2012 came the big turning point. The launch of the Tesla Model S. The Tesla Model S. The car that changed everything. Up until that point, Tesla had been known for the Roadster, a luxury electric sports car, but it was not affordable for the general public. The Model S changed that completely. It was beautiful and futuristic. It looked like a car from a science fiction movie. It had an impressive range. While most electric cars at the time didn't go beyond 150 kilometers, the Model S could travel more than 400 kilometers on a single charge. Incredible acceleration. It was faster than many gasoline-powered sports cars. It had a large touchscreen dashboard, something innovative at the time, which made the car more technological than any other on the market. The result? An instant success. People were impressed with Tesla's technology, and investors slowly began to realize that electric cars were the future of the automotive industry. Tesla goes public and explodes in value. In 2010, before the launch of the Model S, Tesla filed its initial public offering (IPO) and became a publicly traded company on the stock exchange. This was the first American car manufacturer to go public since Ford in 1956. With the success of the Model S and the growing popularity of electric cars, Tesla's stock began to rise higher and higher. But Elon didn't stop there. He knew that in order for Tesla to become a giant in the automotive industry, it needed to expand and create new models. And that's exactly what he did. Tesla's expansion, new models and the industry revolution. After the Model S, Tesla began launching new cars to reach different audiences. Model X, 2015. An electric SUV with doors that opened upwards like falcon wings. Model 3, 2017. The car that popularized Tesla, being the first model more accessible to the public. Model Y, 2020. A compact SUV that quickly became one of Tesla's best-selling cars. With this expansion, Tesla not only survived, but also became the most valuable automaker in the world. Now stop and think. A company that almost went bankrupt in 2008 that everyone said would fail was now worth more than Ford, GM, and even Toyota. This was a milestone in the automotive industry. For the first time, a new company managed to beat giants that had been in the market for over 100 years. And Elon Musk? He became a billionaire. But he still had other crazy plans ahead. Now that Tesla was established, it was time to take SpaceX to the next level and start preparing humanity to travel to Mars. If you thought that part of the story was amazing, just wait until you see what Elon did next with SpaceX, Tesla, and his other futuristic companies. Falcon Heavy launch and the conquest of space. Now imagine this. A gigantic rocket, the most powerful in the world, being launched into space. But that wasn't all. Inside it there was a car. And not just any car. It was a red Tesla Roadster, driven by a mannequin nicknamed Starman. That happened on February 6, 2018, when SpaceX made history by launching the Falcon Heavy, the most powerful rocket since the Apollo missions. And it was one of the most iconic moments in Elon Musk's career. But to understand why this launch was so important, we need to go back in time a little. The challenge of creating a giant reusable rocket. After SpaceX survived the near collapse of 2008 and secured contracts with NASA, Elon Musk knew he needed to keep innovating. His goal has always been to drastically reduce the cost of space travel. And how do you do that? By creating reusable rockets. By increasing cargo capacity to carry more stuff into space. By testing technologies that could one day take humans to Mars. That's how the idea for the Falcon Heavy came about. This rocket had 3 times the power of a Falcon 9 and could carry more than 63 tons into space, making it the most powerful rocket in the world at the time. But like everything else at SpaceX, the road to success was full of challenges. The big day, the world's most powerful rocket launches. On February 6, 2018, thousands of people gathered to watch the Falcon Heavy launch from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. And when the engines fired, the world stopped to watch. The rocket took off flawlessly with a deafening roar and a spectacle of fire and smoke. Within minutes, it was above Earth. And then came one of the most impressive moments in the history of space exploration. Both Falcon Heavy rockets returned to Earth and landed simultaneously. This had never been done before. It was something straight out of a science fiction movie. The rocket that was once discarded could now be reused, drastically reducing the costs of space missions. Tesla in space and the legend of Starman. But Elon Musk didn't just want to test a rocket. He wanted to do something epic, something that would inspire people. And what did he do? He put a Tesla Roadster in space. It's a real car. And to drive it, he had a mannequin dressed in a SpaceX spacesuit, who was nicknamed Starman. The car was launched into orbit around the sun, and to this day it is there wandering through infinite space. And to make it even more cinematic, the Tesla's cameras showed incredible images of Earth in the background, with the song Space Oddity by David Bowie playing on the radio. This moment went viral around the world. People were fascinated by Elon Musk's boldness. After all, who else on the planet would have the crazy idea of launching a car into space just to test a rocket? But in addition to the spectacle, the launch of the Falcon Heavy proved that SpaceX was years ahead of the competition. NASA, private companies, and even governments began to take SpaceX even more seriously. After all, it was now possible to dream of cheaper space travel and even missions to Mars. And that's when Elon Musk began working on his most ambitious rocket of all time, the Starship, which could one day take humans to other planets. Now think about it. A guy who started out creating a simple computer game at age 12 was now building rockets and launching cars into space. But Elon still wasn't satisfied. While working at SpaceX and Tesla, he was also revolutionizing another completely different area: brain-machine interface technology. And that brings us to the next part of this incredible story: the birth of Neuralink and the dream of connecting the human brain to computers, the Twitter purchase and the social media revolution. Now imagine that you are the most influential person in the world of technology. You have already created companies that have changed the way people drive: Tesla, how we explore space, SpaceX, and even how we connect to the internet, Starlink. What else could you do? Well, Elon Musk decided it was time to revolutionize social media. In 2022, he made an unexpected move. He bought Twitter for $44 billion. But the purchase was not easy. He first made an offer, then tried to back out, and in the end was forced to close the deal. The reason? He claimed that Twitter was full of fake accounts and bots, and he wanted more transparency. But why did Elon Musk want to buy Twitter? He believed that the social network was censoring voices and limiting freedom of expression. He wanted to transform Twitter into a more transparent and open platform. He had plans to transform the network into a super app called X that would combine messaging, payments, and more. Once he took control of the platform, Elon Musk made big changes, such as firing the company's top management, changing the blue check to a paid service, Twitter Blue, reinstating banned accounts, including controversial figures, promoting more engagement, and making the network more profitable. But not everyone liked these changes. Many users and advertisers criticized his decisions, while others praised his courage to challenge the traditional social media system. The big question now is, will Twitter, now called X, really become the great revolution that Elon Musk promises? And in the meantime, he hasn't stopped there. Now, in addition to working with rockets, electric cars, and social networks, he wants to connect human brains to computers, Neuralink, and the fusion between humans and machines. Elon Musk has always said that his biggest fear was artificial intelligence becoming more intelligent than humans and taking over the world. But instead of just fearing this, he had a radical idea. What if we could directly connect our brains to computers and keep up with the evolution of AI? That's how, in 2016, he founded Neuralink, a company that develops brain chips. The goal? To create an interface between the human brain and computers, allowing people with paralysis to control devices with just their thoughts. It will be possible to store and retrieve memories like a hard drive. The human brain will be enhanced to compete with artificial intelligence. In 2023, Neuralink received approval for human trials, which could be one of the greatest advances in modern medicine. Will we really be able to download knowledge directly into our brains in the future, like in the Matrix? The answer is still unclear, but Elon Musk believes that this will be one of the most important steps for humanity. But even with so many companies and projects, he still hasn't forgotten his big goal: taking humans to Mars. The ultimate plan: colonizing Mars and securing the future of humanity. Since he was a child, Elon Musk has always dreamed of exploring space. But he doesn't just want to send rockets there. He wants to make Mars a new home for humanity. And he's not just talking, he's building the rockets that can make it happen. In 2016, he announced Starship, the largest and most powerful rocket ever built. It will be 100% reusable and will be able to take hundreds of people to Mars. If the plan works out, Musk believes that in the next 30 years we could have entire cities on the red planet. But why? He believes that humanity must be multiplanetary to ensure its survival. He wants to prevent a major disaster, such as a nuclear war or an asteroid, from ending civilization. He believes that exploring Mars is the next big step in our evolution as a species. The Starship has already been tested a few times, and although it has faced explosions and failures, SpaceX continues to perfect the project. Now the big question is, will Elon Musk really be able to take humans to Mars? We don't know the answer yet, but if there's anyone who has proven to be capable of making impossible dreams come true, it's him. The man who wants to shape the future. Elon Musk went from being a shy, bullied boy in South Africa to becoming one of the most powerful and influential men on the planet. He has faced bankruptcies, crises, disbelief, and incredible challenges, but he has never given up. Today he owns companies that are changing the world. SpaceX, creating reusable rockets and planning to colonize Mars. Tesla, transforming the market for electric cars and sustainable energy. Neuralink, developing brain chips to connect humans to machines. Starlink, creating a global internet via satellites. X Twitter, trying to change the way we communicate online. And all of this leads us to one big question. Is Elon Musk a genius who is creating the future of humanity? Or an eccentric visionary with crazy ideas? What do you think? Leave your opinion in the comments and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories like this. See you in the next video.